Major General Granville Elliott was a British military officer. He served with distinction in several other European armies and subsequently in the British Army. He fought at the Battle of Minden where he was wounded, dying of his injuries several weeks later. Early life. Elliott was born at Byfield House, Church Road, Barnes, Surrey, to Major General Roger Elliott and his wife Charlotte. He was baptized on the 27th of October 1713 at St Mary the Virgin's Church, Barnes. His godparents were George Granville, 1st Baron Lansdowne, and Mrs Killigrew. When Elliott was less than 1 year old, his father died and he was brought up by his mother and her new husband, Captain Thomas Burrows. Later that decade, he was made a ward of his mother's younger brother, Colonel William Elliott. In 1725, Elliott was admitted to Dr. Dunster's Academy in Little Marlborough Street, London, and in 1730 he matriculated as a law student at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands. Continental European military career. By 1732, Elliott was in the service of the H.M. Carl Philipp von Pfalz-Neuburg, Elector Palatine of the Rhine. On the 7th of March 1735, ahead of his marriage on the 15th of March 1735 at Mannheim to Jeanne-Thérèse Duhan, Comtesse de Martigny, he was created a chamberlain in the Elector's army and raised to the title of Comte de Morhange in the Moselle region. To facilitate the marriage, Elliott converted to Catholicism, and took the forename Joseph, which caused him problems with his mother's Calvinist relatives. In August 1736, he and his mother swore oaths at the College of Arms in London that the Elliott family descended from a legal marriage of Richard Elliott, the wayward second son of Sir John Elliott, to Catherine Killigrew, daughter of Sir Robert Killigrew and Mary Woodhouse. However, the two oaths differed in some details, and no independent evidence for any marriage of Richard has ever come to light. Moreover, Catherine Killigrew was still described as spinster in 1655 when she executed her mother's will. As a result, Elliott was not recognized by the College of Arms as a legitimate relative of the then Lord Elliott of Port Elliot in Cornwall, ancestors of the present Earls of St. Germans. Nevertheless, Granville Elliott had a pedigree drawn up and formally presented to him in Paris by the British ambassador plenipotentiary. As a result of this device, Elliott became known at the Elector's court as Comte Elliott de Port Elliot and Graf Elliott von Port Elliot. On the 29th of October 1736, Elliott was promoted to the rank of colonel, taking over the colonelcy of the Carabinier Regiment on the 1st of February 1737, and the Dragoons Regiment on the 10th of July 1738. In 1737, Elliott was appointed Cavalry General of the States General of the Netherlands, the legislature of the Dutch Republic. A few years later, he was working at Lunéville at the court of the exiled King Stanislaus I of Poland, who had become Duke of Lorraine and Bar. On the 22nd of April 1745, he was promoted to Major General of Cavalry for the Elector Palatine. On the 24th of June 1746, to Lieutenant General of Cavalry, and, on the 2nd of November 1748, to Lieutenant General of Cavalry from the States General of the Netherlands. Elliott and his wife appeared regularly in the Madame de Graffigny correspondence, usually under his baptized name Joseph or his familiar name Kotoko. His wife died on the 7th of May 1748, and this caused a substantial change of direction for Elliott. He left his grown-up family with the French relatives, returned to the UK, forsook his Catholicism and repaired the bridges with his mother's relatives. It appears that Elliott did not subsequently contact his French family, although there was no known ill will between them. British military career. Back in the UK, he remarried on 3 September 1750 to Elizabeth Ducat at St Mary Magdalene, Old Fish Street, London. However, he soon returned to the service of the States General of the Netherlands, and was appointed Major General of the Scotch Brigade. The first child of his second marriage was born in the Netherlands, although later children would be born at the home in Kew. On 21 April 1758, Elliott was made Major General in the British Army, and appointed Colonel of the 61st Regiment of Foot, the Glorious Gloucesters. That summer, he was a staff officer on the Army expedition to St Malo, and, from 5 July 1758 to 31 August 1758, he received a short-term commission as Colonel and Lieutenant General in the Dutch Army. The 7 Years' War had arrived, and Elliott's knowledge of continental warfare was significant. In early 1759, he returned to continental Europe, as part of a massive British Army deployment. At the Battle of Minden, on 1 August 1759, he commanded the cavalry regiment under John Manners, Marquesses of Granby. Manners was himself second in command to Sir George Sackville, who was later cashiered for his inaction at the battle. Despite this chain of command, Elliott saw significant action in battle, and was seriously wounded. He retired to convalesce at Army headquarters in Rodheim and Erbieber, Gießen, Hesse, Germany, but died 9 weeks later on 10 October 1759 from the wounds incurred. He was buried with military honors in the local 13th-century church at Kravdorf on 12 October. Prince Ferdinand of Brunswick attended the funeral. A brass commemorative plaque was erected during the 20th century by his British descendants in the church. Light cavalry was introduced into the British Army as a direct result of advice from General Granville Elliott. Family. Granville Elliott married twice. Firstly, on 15 March 1735 at Mannheim, to Jean Thérèse Duhan, Comtesse de Martigny, by whom he had at least 6 sons and a daughter. Secondly, on 3 September 1750 at St Mary Magdalene, Old Fish Street, to Elizabeth Ducat, by whom he had at least 3 sons and 3 daughters. Elizabeth was a niece of Sir George Ducat. Of the children of his second marriage, Francis Perceval Elliott and his descendants continued the family's close connection with British armed forces. Francis also re-established contact with his French half-siblings.